Once again, good evening to everybody. Today's masterclass is one of our hot topics, which is to understand the demand for cybersecurity in the current year and the years to come by. So a quick introduction about our expert, Mr. Vinay Kumar. As far as his experience is concerned, he's been into the industry for almost 6+ years. And in addition to that, he has a specialty as a cloud security engineer. He has a lot of accolades and experiences across multiple domains within the cybersecurity industry. And it's a privilege and an honor to have somebody like him with that experience to come to our AntWak's platform. So without any further delay, warm welcome to you as well, Vinay. Without any further ado, I'd request you to take up the platform. And once again, a very good evening. Cheers.
Hey, thanks, Kaushik. Thanks for that warm welcome. Let me see how I can enable this video. Yeah. Hope the video is clear.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Kaushik. Thanks for the warm welcome. Hey guys, good evening all. I'll not delay. Let's get started. I'll just share my screen if anybody can confirm via the chat that they're able to see the slide deck.
Yep, it's visible.
Okay, great. Okay. Should we start, Kaushik, or do you?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we have a good number. We have 100+ people already. So I think we can get started for sure.
Okay, I didn't expect that number. That's great.
Absolutely. Let's get on, sir.
Okay, sure. Yeah, again, as Kaushik mentioned, if you do have any queries, you can put on the chat and then we'll have a dedicated Q&A section at the end to answer those. Right? Okay. Good evening, guys. And let's get started. I'll start with the slide deck and we'll start with the agenda for the day. So this is the agenda for the day. So I think you all know, as we registered, you got to know the agenda for the day, but just to recap, so we'll see what is the demand for the cybersecurity in 2021 and like in the coming years in 2021 and in the coming years, and like what is the most to get into cybersecurity industry, what is the most in-demand skill you require as of today and the coming years, and we'll see the cybersecurity certifications which help you to get there. Right? And as I told in the last, we'll have a small Q&A section, and feel free to stop me at any point of time, or at the end we'll have a dedicated Q&A section. Right? Yeah, so just to give a background introduction, right? So what cybersecurity is all about, right? So what is happening in the current trend is like with the rapid improvements in technology, such as like big data, IoT, right? Internet of Things. When I see IoT, the risk and data theft. The risk and data theft have increased. Like companies and institutions rely on technology and manpower to combat the cyber attacks such as ransomware, socially engineering attacks, like right, someone tried to call you and ask for a credit card password, your credit card is blocked, I'll unblock in within 2 seconds, just give me your PIN number. And those are social engineering attacks, right? So with ever evolving technologies or the trends, so it's difficult for the companies and institutions to maintain that or combat that cybersecurity. So when you are registered for this second, so I believe that you all are here so that you can gain some knowledge on what are the various skills that are required to make a career of information security or cybersecurity in terms. So when I start with, right, I could say, like, in fact, there are like around 3.5 million reasons. When I say it's 3.5 million reasons, so that is because that's the estimated number of unfilled cybersecurity jobs in this year alone. So that this survey has been conducted by New York Times, and that's the only the reason you can say to get into cybersecurity. Not the only reason. I mean, that's one of the reasons where you can say like 3.5 million jobs alone this year alone, right? So just jumping on straight away into the technicalities, right? So we're going to learn about the importance of this ever rapidly increasing field called as cybersecurity, and also we shall discuss the various cybersecurity certifications and the skills that are required to enter into this industry. Right, okay. A bit of background about myself. I think Kaushik gave a good introduction, but just to boost myself. So I'm currently working as a cloud security engineer at Palo Alto Networks. So I'm an ex-Brilio and ex-Cisco employee. I was working as a security consultant there also. I used to do some Python scripting, and I have experience with, like, I hold 2 AWS certifications currently. One is the AWS Solutions Architect, and one is AWS Developer Associate. I'm preparing for my AWS Security certification. So these are our background, and like I have around 6+ years of experience, close to six point something on multiple domains, and like my basic day in and day out work would be something to carry out, assess the customer and cloud environment, and give them the feedback about their security posture. So we call it as in industry, we call it as CSPM, cloud security posture management. So that's my day in and day out work. I talk to customers and engage them with the security best practices. Right. So that's just a bit of introduction. So is my pace okay, or anybody is finding it like too fast or too slow? I hope it's good.
Vinay, I think it's fine.
Okay. Thanks, Kosik, for that. Yeah. Yeah. Straight away starting it. So the first topic, demand for cybersecurity in 2021 and coming years, right? So why do someone wants to get into a major piece of job industry where the more organizations in more like qualified cybersecurity experts like today more than ever, as I told, right? So as you can see, some of the pics here or the snapshots here, like the companies need to prioritize developing and maintaining the team of technologists and cybersecurity experts, like who understand how to perpetrate, how the perpetrators think. When I say perpetrator, it's nothing but the hackers in local language, right? So a security research by Awarenosys suggests that most companies have unprotected data and poor cybersecurity practices in place, so making them vulnerable to the data loss. So in 2021, like data is the most valuable thing, rather than someone would say it's gold or diamond or platinum, but I would say it's data. So because if anybody is having the data, it's like the most valuable thing they have. So because as the security research done by Varus is like out of the top, some of the 100 companies, around 70% of the companies will have poor infrastructure, security infrastructure in place, making them vulnerable to the data loss, right? With the cyber crimes increasing, like all the business are potential gray. Like hackers don't differentiate or discriminate between a startup and a big organization. Like it's startup is also same for them, and the big organization also same for them, regardless of the growth rate or the structure or the reputation of the company. They simply go and like introduce a ransomware, malware, and you start asking for ransomware. Like they block all the files, and if they wanted to unlock, they start asking the bitcoins. Like they don't take in cash. I mean, I think most of you know that the transfer all the credits through the bitcoins, and that's how they unlock the files again, right? So as you can see in the snapshots here, like if you can read it alone, so India will alone need around 1 million cybersecurity professionals by 2020. It's already crossed, I know, yes, and to meet the demands of the growing economy. So it's ever growing. The like I have been hearing the shortage of cybersecurity professionals right from like 3 to 4 years back, and it's still in the trend. So that's the demand we have. And also you can see like one more snapshot there, like the global spending of cybersecurity is predicted to exceed 1 trillion cumulatively from 2017 to 2021. So that's a huge amount of money. It's like to put it in layman terms, it's like the spending of the companies will reach around 1 trillion to secure their data. So that's the amount of money they're ready to spend so that the data is intact. What happens is like once any, say for example, let's take in a breach of Zomato or like any other company, right? I'm just taking a company X or XYZ. So once they lose their data, their credit card, customer credit card information, or their login information, the customers lose trust in their organization. Thereby the customer base count goes on decreasing, and ultimately the company has to shut down. So that's the potential the security has. Not only they have lost the data, they lose their users information, they lose their users, ultimately going bankrupt. So that's the effect one can have, right? A few points on the next slide. So there's one more survey conducted by a security ventures called a cybersecurity ventures. So cyber crime will cost around 10.5 trillion. I know it's 6 trillion here, so it will cost around, this is 6 trillion is by year 2021, but it's going to cost around, the latest update is that it's going to cost around 10.5 million 5 trillion annually by 2025. So just in 4 more years, it's going to almost double. 6 trillion is going to be almost double, 1 trillion less, but it's almost double in 4 years. So that's like growing like 15% every year over the next 5 years. If anybody is into stock market or like economics, or they are at the good in mathematics, you can calculate like 15% CAGR is huge. right? We talk about fixed FDs and all, like not off the topic, uh, we talk about FDs and all like 5%, 6%, and like that's only like okay. We are talking about 15% every year for the next 5 years. So that's a huge growth. And in the first half of the last year alone, so there are like 301 known breaches. 301 known breaches that were exposed more than 5 million sensitive records. When I say sensitive records, it can be like credit card information, it can be your personal information, username, email, passwords, anything. Right? It can be any of the sensitive information here. If you're an US citizen, like in US, like how you have PAN numbers in India, we have something called as some unique identifier numbers in US. So that way, that's also categorized as sensitive information. So these are all like 301 known breaches were there in the last year alone. So that's one of the major uh, damage that the cybersecurity can cause for you, on the pure security posture management can cause for you, right? And the demand, as you can see, the second snapshot, like when the same cybersecurity ventures has conducted another survey, which predicts that there will be around 3.5 million cybersecurity job openings by 2021. So which is already there. You can just go to Naukri and search for a security profile, and you can see the number of openings there. And when I say security, it's a very broader term. So in security, we have like you can become a security analyst, you can become a cloud security engineer, you can become like a forensic investigator, you can be an incident and response engineer, right? You can be an risk analyst, or you can go into cloud governance, so all those things. So it can be anything into that. So it's a very vast field, right? So this is this slide deck. I think it's the same thing which is summarized in this slide deck. If you see, the same thing which we captured, which we just discussed now, like there will be around 15,000 open positions in 2020, and the demand for talent, all are the same points. I'll now deep dive onto this. And like one thing which I would like to highlight here is the market, the cybersecurity market, which will be the topic, next topic. So this will be growing from around 152 billion USD dollars in 2018 to around 250 billion by 2023 at a CAGR of 10.2%. So that's pretty huge. So this is the market standard as of now. You can expect somewhere, right, it's going to be increasing because of the work from home situation as of now, and like everybody being connected remotely. It's going to be ever increasing, and there's no, I don't see any point in cybersecurity slowing down or information security slowing down in the near future for any reasons, right? And these are all the same points. I would not like to repeat it, but yeah. Right. And these are all the sources are from very famous ventures, or the organizations like the cybersecurity ventures, which I told, or this is from the NASCOM itself. I think these are like some of the verified sources where you can get the information, and they don't give out those information for like any by without any proofs or dedicated research. So you can all trust this. Yeah, and the demand, coming to the demand part or the job market part, which I just discussed in the previous slide, right? So again, there is one more survey, like there's a lot of surveys conducted, just to highlight, right? So according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, information security analyst or the cybersecurity jobs are one of the fastest growing careers in US, right? So the Bureau of Labor Science predicts that cybersecurity jobs will grow around 37% year over year. So the job growth is around 37%, which is 7 times more. If you talk about the national job market, right? So it's just 4%. National average growth of the job is 4%, whereas the cybersecurity job is around 37%, which is like more than 7 to 8 times, right, of the national job market. So that's the number one. It's the number one fastest growing job market. Is around, it has around 37% year over year growing percentage growth. And 59% of the organization, like almost 60% of the organizations, will have a cyber security team and a positions open for them with this thing. And also you can see, right, this should be 3.5. It's not 2.93. It should be 3.5, as we discussed in the previous slide, right? And these are the various, like, and I'm sure that this would be updated for now. By now, if you go and search, this would be definitely more. You can just make a Google search on it. And Asia specific, like the region wise, you can see the number of job openings there, like for Asia specific, which is like India and the Asia regions, and all right, around 2.14 million jobs alone, and within Asia specific. right? And we're combining North America, Western Europe, Latin America, and whatnot, like the entire world, it'd be huge market. That's what the potential is all about, right? And as I told, with COVID-19 driving the worldwide shift to the remote work, right? So all are from like remote work. As I'm taking this session from remote, you are taking this session from your homes, and like online learning for the kids, everything. This is the like the cybersecurity is an increasing concern, and like this is a critical topic to be discussed on. And one more statistics, just and we'll end it here with the demand, right? So this slide basically shows the gap between the demand and the supply of the cybersecurity professionals in the industry, right? As you can see here, so as you can see the legend here. So the blue ones lines it shows the demand for the skill which is required in the organization, any organization, be it any MNC, right? So for cybersecurity, they require around 68% of their organization to be skilled on a particular technology or knowledge, cybersecurity professionals. Whereas the level of proficiency or skill level they are getting within the employees are just 43%. So there is a huge gap of 25%. The skilled employees are around 43%, but the requirement is on 68%. So I think this is also some, if it would be updated by now. So the trend would change day by day, even by second. So as of this data, it's around 25%. The graph, that is a shortage of 25%. Whereas if you see cloud computing also, it's around almost 24%. So I mean, cloud computing, cybersecurity, cloud computing, it's also like it goes close to hand in hand, because nowadays everybody are shifting into cloud. Even a small startup is no longer using the on-premise servers that directly go onto the AWS, and many of the bigger organizations, right, are moving to cloud. Even though they have a dedicated premise already in place, they're moving to cloud because of the scalability, elasticity, and various other parameters or the benefits of cloud computing. So I would, and security is a part of cloud computing. You can't ignore security with cloud computing. I'm being a cloud security engineer, I know that how hard or how easy, I can say both, is to secure an cloud environment. Depends on the various architecture you have. So you have to see the architecture and know what are the resources you can put in place. So combining these two, I would say this also cloud computing would also fall under cybersecurity because of the highly elasticity and other features, benefits of cloud computing, right? So having like it's open to the world, of course. It's just a public cloud. If you're using either AWS or Oracle or GCP or Azure, it's a public cloud, so anybody can have access to that. If you have misconfigured something, your resource can be in place of anybody else's resource, right? So that's the part of cloud computing. So hand in hand, cybersecurity and cloud computing go around the same percentage, 24, 25, and 24. If you see the rest of the things like analytics, web development, or they're very shortage is very less comparatively, right? If you can say this 13%. And web development also it's involved. This is one of the topic where security can be introduced. This topic is there in my slides. I'll go on that. So, but yeah, so this is the overall thing, right? So just the bottom line is that there's a huge demand for cybersecurity, and once you can pitch in or get the required skills, so you're in for a good ride, and then there is no stopping you from getting a good salary at all. I'll talk about the salary aspects of how much one can get in a short while. Yeah, I think we'll have a poll here. I think Kaushik can.
Yep. So guys, we're just running a quick poll, which is on your screen. And yep, that's the question. Last 30 seconds, guys. Anybody else? We just have another 40 people out pending.
So there's no right or wrong answer for this.
Yeah.
It all depends on your knowledge, on what you have experienced. So there's no right or wrong answer. You can go for it.
Last 10 seconds. Five, four, three, one. All right. Thank you so much, guys. It's an amazing participation. 77% of people have participated, and 58%. So if you can see on the screen, even you'd be able to see the statistics that 58% of you guys have gone for cloud security. And I think Vinay wouldn't beg to differ.
Yes, definitely.
Skills that he was kind of talking about. So yes, without any further delay, Vinay, it's up to you. You can continue.
Sure. Thanks, Kaushik. Yeah. So as I told, there's no right or wrong answer, and like out of the 58, 22, and 20%, all are right. So security is like a bigger concern which the organizations or the institutions are facing now, and there's no right or wrong answer. You can hack anything and get into anything. So even just to give a small on this, like someone can hack your radio or the smart TV and get into your network, because your smart TV would be connected to Wi-Fi and your Wi-Fi would be connected to your laptop, right? So even big data, cloud security applications, there's no right or wrong answer. And like, of course, I would not differ with the cloud security being the major chunk there. Yeah. I think I'll close this. Yeah. Close. Right. Thanks for that. And so we talked about why cybersecurity would be the major um, why there is so much demand for cybersecurity in 21, be it job, be it the shortage of demand and supply, all those things, right? So let's see what are the skills that you can, now that we know that there is a shortage of skills or the manpower in the cybersecurity domain, like let us see how we can fill that up also. If you have the required skill sets, we can like definitely get into the job, the domain, right? So for cybersecurity, all the companies around the globe, right? Like they need cybersecurity specialists and IT experts to protect and recover their data, be it system from the systems or the applications or anything, whatever. Like there's a different career paths. I would not talk about it, but like they would need specialists and IT experts, would be it to recover the data or to configure it, DevOps people, DevSecOps people, so all those things. These professionals are need to know the demand, the in-demand cybersecurity skills to safeguard the organization's data, right? So building a career in cybersecurity requires in-depth training, knowledge apart from basic computer language, right? So if you just know to use how to use a computer or one of the programming skills, it's not sufficient. So one needs also need to learn the important skills for required, which are required for cybersecurity jobs, right? So it be it scripting, be it like various cybersecurity tools that are required, what are the different domains, and basic understanding of all the tools, what are the basic career paths we can choose. Some like majorly, like most of them neglect to understand what is the career path. Only once you get an understanding of what are the different career paths you can choose in cybersecurity, you'll get to choose the ones you are interested in, right? So that's one of the major thing. So this slide, if you can see, right, you guys are correct. As you can see, the survey also says the same. So the fastest growing cybersecurity skills for 2021 and beyond, not only 2021, right? So this is again one of the surveys conducted by Burning Glass Technologies. So it's a leading labor market analytics firm, right? So that according to their research, the 10 fastest growing cybersecurity skills are, according to this chart, you can see the application development security is the one which tops the chart, and next one would be the cloud security. I'm pretty sure that cloud security would overtake this sometime in the near future, or at least it would give a tough competition. Like both would be going in hand. Right? The rest of the things are like some other parts of cybersecurity, like the risk management, the threat intelligence, the incident response, which I talked about, right? Compliance and control. Like nowadays, this is also gaining popularity because like most of the organizations, right, have to adhere to some kind of standards. Like you might have heard about the terms like PCI DSS. If you see in your credit card, there would be like in the backside of it, it would be like something like
yeah, sorry, I think you got muted.
yeah. Okay, yeah. So I was just telling like about the compliance and controls, like why that nowadays that is also gaining popularity because like most of the organizations, right, would like to have would have to follow some standards in order to according to the government rules and regulations. Like so if you have heard about financial organizations, right, if you see in your credit card in backside of it, some backside of front somewhere it would be mentioned about PCI DSS. So that's the compliance standard, like one the credit card the company has to maintain or has to follow in order to be potential, like in order to run their business they have to follow that standard. So that is compliance. If you're not compliant against that standard, you would face heavy fines, and that's one of the gaining career paths as of now. like cloud governance and like the governance in general, also compliance and governance. And we have data privacy and security. Access management is nothing but who can have access to what resources, right? Not everybody will be an admin. Only certain people will be admin, and other people should be just a user to an application. So admin can do a lot more stuff than a user can do. So right, so that's access management, basically deciding who has what kind of permissions. And we have security strategy and governance, again the same thing. And health information security. For health information, again, so since financial we have PCI DSS, for health we have HIPAA. Again, that's one of the compliance standard one has to follow. All the hospitals or someone who is keeping a patient record, right, has to follow that standards. Like we can't give the patient info to all, so that's such a sensitive information. So those kind of health information security, it's all getting. We'll not be diving on each of these topics, so we'll be diving just on application development and cloud security. Again, these are also very vast topics to discuss about, but in general I'll just give a high level of what is application development security and what is cloud security, right? And just to brief on this percentage terms, right? So based on the analysis that is conducted by the Burning Glass, as I told, right, Burning Glass Technologies, which is a leading labor market analytics firm. Those skills, these are the projected skills, right? In a 5-year skill demand growth, application development security is expected to be growing around 164%. That's massive. And cloud security is catching up with 115%. The rest of the things follows as the percentage that is mentioned here. And nowadays, like the governance and compliance is also catching up with various standards being introduced for the companies, right? So that's one of the things. Jumping on directly to the two fastest growing skills, as I told, right, will be seeing only the top two, which you answered also in the poll, right? So application development security, and the next slide would be on cloud security, right? So both of this involve proactively building a secure system from the start rather than responding to the second. Like we call it as proactive and reactive. Proactive is like you are expecting something, the attack to happen, and you're placing defenses in place, right? So you played how would I give an example? I'm trying to ease it for the people, right? So just to give an example, right, you're expecting someone to wage a war on you, and you're having a shields or everything in place. So that's proactive. Whereas reactive is after they come and like attack you, you're then preparing for the weapons. So that's the difference in layman terms. Okay, don't compare with the cybersecurity, but that's in layman terms. That's proactive and reactive, basically, right? So this application development security and cloud security both involve proactively building secure system from the start rather than responding to the attack. That means these two are proactive, having your defenses in place before going to the war. So that's proactive, right? So and having these skills in your armory, like it's carries significant salary premiums. I told I'll talk about this. I'll have a dedicated slide on that. I'll talk about the salary structure. But right, that's one of the things, right? So they will have having this skill set in your armory will have a significant salary for you, will fetch you a significant salary. So what is this application development life security, right? Oh, you might have heard about the waterfall model. Someone who's into industry for at least for 1 or 2 years, you might have heard about the waterfall model. It's basically the model that the IT industry used to follow a couple of years back. I mean, a decade back at least. When they get a project from the client, right, they used to do requirement analysis first. So they'll understand what is the project, what the client requirement is, what we have to do. That is the requirement, and then they start to design the project, what and all is required. Just like listing, requirement is just like listing what you need to bring from your DMart store, and designing is like going and fetching it, and development is like bringing, washing it or something like that. I'm putting it layman terms, right? And testing is to prepare or have a heating and like testing it. Then the development and the maintenance. So if you're comparing it to the IT industry, again, requirement is getting the project from your client, understanding what can be done. Say the client would give like something like, I want a TV in above my head always. If I turn like this, I want a TV. If I turn like this, I want a TV. Right? That's something that's just not feasible. So understanding the requirement is the first phase. Whether it is feasible or not, whatever the client given is applicable and we can do it in the real world or not, that is requirement analysis. Designing, and then we design the architecture. Like once it is done, like we will say, oh, so this is the resource we have to use, this is the cloud piece we have to use, this is the technology we have to use. That is designing phase. Development, coding. the basic coding, right? And then testing, once the development is done, we have to test it whether the product is working. Like, let's take an example of TV. You're developing a TV, and we have to test whether all the buttons are working or not, those kind of things. And then deployment, so selling it, or putting everything in place, and then the maintenance of that, the services which the TV companies give, right? So all those things. This is the waterfall model which used to follow. What was wrong with this model was, right, say for example, in the testing phase, that is the fourth phase. In the testing phase, they found a bug, right? Some of the power button was not working, or someone, it's a smart TV, and someone could easily hack that. They had a uh, malware or something that got introduced while developing the code, and then and someone could easily hack that. So here the cost of the cost of rewriting, or removing that or patching that bug, would be huge, because we have already analyzed the requirement, with the design is done, the development is done, everything is done. Now at the testing phase or the deployment phase, we got the bug. Again, we have to go and do the requirement analysis again the design should be done, again the development has to be done, right? So a lot of rework. So this model was called as waterfall model, and it was used for us. At that point of time, it was pretty good and it worked for some years, but later we introduced something called as DevSecOps. Now the trend is about DevSecOps. It's development plus security plus operations. We used to call as DevOps earlier. Again, it's a newer term, DevSecOps, development, security, and operations. And what we do is we do the same waterfall model which we follow. And I'll not talk about the agile model and all if you're thinking about, but sticking to the security terms here, the same for waterfall model comparatively, but we do security at each and every phase. As you can see here, at the requirement phase, we have security requirements also gathering. Say for example, you had a client request to build an application, right? So building an application, you need to think about the security requirements of that. What is the protocols I'm going to use for the communication? What type of servers I'm going to use? What is the version of, say for example, you're using web servers. Nginx is one of the famous web servers. What version of the Nginx should I use? And what, if you're using certificates, web application transfer using certificates, right? HTTP, HTTPS, what protocol to use? Should I use it certificate TLS 1.2 or 1.1? So all those security requirements should be gathered at the initial phase only. And then with the design phase, we start with the security requirements in place. We start the threat modeling and the security architecture, having a risk. Say for example, you have a web application now. Whether should it be exposed to the internet? Say for example, the web application is there. There would be some database which is storing that information. So where the database should be there? Should that database be directly accessible to the customers also? Usually we call it as 3-tier architecture in cloud, right? What happens is the customers hit the load balancers first. I'm sorry if these are all jargons for you. Load balance is nothing but we distribute the load between their servers. So if it will hit the load balancers first, then it will hit your servers, and then it will return the data. On the access is only for the load balancers to the customers, but the database access would be only to the servers. So once you hit that load balancer, it will go hit the EC2 instances or the web servers that are running. If you require any information, only the EC2 can access the DB. It will pull out that information from that and it will fetch you back. That's the 3-tier architecture, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So we call it as 3-tier architecture in cloud. So those kind of security architecture, right? So security, here you are the user is directly not able to access the DB. That's one of the security measures we have put in place. So we start with those kind of designs, and in development, we will have secure coding standards. We have to use if you're using Python, I majorly use Python. So I'll give an example of Python. So you should have a design patterns and frameworks in place, good design patterns and frameworks in place. You should follow secure coding practices. You need to run your, in the testing phase, you need to run your vulnerability analysis or code review. Usually in IT organization, right? One who writes the codes while pushing it to the GitHub, right? He asks for a review from his colleague. Only if his colleague approves the code, it will get merged to your main branch in GitHub. So that process has to be followed. Also, we'll run various various vulnerability scanners, to check the design patterns or are there any misconfigurations within the code that we have written. So that's the testing phase and the development phase which we follow. And in deployment, again within deployment, it's a huge thing. Again, we call it a CI/CD pipeline or something where we use Jenkins and other security tools in the DevOps path. where we like each of the build gets triggered. It goes through a testing phase, UAT phase, test bed, and then goes through the deployment phase. All the tests are run against it. Only if the test passes, it will go and finally deploy it. So that again, that has a separate process. So yeah, at each phase, the main high level idea is at each phase it carries a security in place, right? Whereas in earlier waterfall model, only security was introduced only at the end, the fourth or fifth phase, that's the testing phase. In applicate, that's the one of the application development skills you need to have. Bringing in security at each and every phases of the model, the secure development lifecycle model, is the one of the prerequisites or a application security skill that one needs to have, right? So this is the one of the topics, the fastest growing skill. Jumping on with the second one, cloud security. And I think most of them voted for this, and I would not defer it. This is one of the domain which I'm also working on and which I'm passionate on. So it's like cloud security is encompassing about the robust technology and measures to prevent online data leakage. So till now, whatever we have, most of the times of the breaches or something, it's all about the on-premise data leakage, some server misconfiguration or something in your website or something, and the data would be present in your on-premise servers, and there will be leakage of that. So that's on-premise data leakage. Whereas now with the world moving to cloud, right, it would be most of the cloud data breaches now. There are already a couple of them already, and we have a lot of software tools now to evaluate the CSPM. I'm working on one such tool. Right, so it's like online data leakage and data. I mean, the cloud security is all about the technology and measures to prevent online data leakage and theft of your data. So it's cloud security is essentially for individuals and business because sensitive data, application, and resources are shifting to the cloud, as I told, right? So, cloud storage, be it S3 or whatever the cloud storage, public cloud you use. So the tools that are used by the hackers also are changing. Earlier, they used to use like a small nmap or something to know the port details and try to ping and something, get onto the server, and then from there navigate, lateral movement we call it as. But nowadays, with the cloud being there, their tools also evolving, like the malware or the obfuscation we call it as. So that is also ever evolving, and like it's a dream run for them also. So as the technology advances, the tools are used by hackers also advance, right? So therefore, organizations need this cloud security when employees to have the knowledge, like how do you secure a cloud environment. I think I talked about this in the tier only, right? Having three-tier architecture, right, for a web application, load balancers, then your EC2 servers, then your database. So here in the one of the skills or like the major skills which I would call it, like how do you secure, say for example, you're building a web application, how do you secure it? What are the different technologies to be used? Keeping that all in the mind is like cloud security. Now, for example, you deploy an EC2. I hope you all know what EC2 is about. EC2 is just like your VM, virtual machines, but in the cloud space, right? So you deploy a EC2 machine, someone has to exit. Say, for example, you deploy EC2, and there's a concept called of security groups within AWS. And I'm more interested in, more knowledgeable in AWS. So I'll take an example of AWS itself. So we have something called as security groups within AWS. So that's where you can configure who has access to that VM. Basically, right, it's like you have a system. So let's skip the word VM and say it's EC2 is nothing but your laptop, but in the cloud space. In laptop, you have username and password. So anybody who has your username and password can log in. Similarly, for EC2 machines, we have something called as key pairs. So anybody who has key pairs can log in. Along with that, he needs to be in a certain particular network. Like someone who has your laptop only, even though if they have the username and password, they cannot log into your laptop unless they have access to your laptop, right? Similarly, comparing it with the EC2 instances, even though they have the key pair, they can't access unless and until you are into their network. So that's where security group is configured. You are saying that only if this person who logs in from this, not this person, only someone who is trying to log in to this system, he has to be in this particular network CIDR range. Only then allow the user to log in, something like that. So that's security group. You need to know how to configure those, and you need to run various like AWS is always evolving, and like they're bringing with a lot of security related tools within their services like guard duty and AWS S3 Macy, right? All those tools are there. You need to know how to run them. How do you secure a web application? What are the technologies you use? All those things. So security measures to protect cloud computing infrastructure from internal and external threats. It can be internal also, like someone who's like, not to give such example, but yeah, someone who has resigned a company, right? He might want to harm the company for some illegal purposes, right? So that's an internal threat. It's not external threat. Since he was already working in the organization, he would have access to some of the things. Maybe he was an admin itself, or he was just a user, but he would have access to something else. So he can go and delete the DB of the running website, or he can go and delete the user so that nobody can access. He can do anything. That's inside a threat, right? So if you have the access control in place, which I talked about, right? So having limited access control to the person who's required, so then you have this security measures. So these are the skills required. So, and then like the ransomware, all these DDoS protections, all those things. So the demand for the cyber security professionals with this cloud security skill is going to be ever increasing from now on, since all the organizations are moving to cloud. All right. That's one of the major chunk. And last but not the least, these are like, I told I'll talk about the figure also, and this is something which I'll be talking about, right? So you can see this is what are the qualifications that are required for cybersecurity employment. Like if someone has to take you into a cybersecurity role, what are the things that the employer from the employer perspective, what are the things that they are going to look into? So they'll see whether your first is of course the work experience. So someone, if they're hiring for a senior security analyst or security consultant, they would not go with a newbie. That's the sad part of this, but yeah, that's again, until and unless you show a required work experience, that's one of the major things that the employer sees at first. And then they'll see how many, like what is the knowledge you have on, either on the basic or on the not on either, like how much of knowledge you have on the basic security concepts and also on the advanced security concepts, right? So you can see the percentage of employers decided wanted to know, like have the work experience, and then the next second most important priority for them is to have the know the advanced concepts, and then they will see for the cybersecurity certifications. We'll talk about this in a while, the different certifications and whatnot. And like the again, the work experience relevant and extensive, like say for example, now I have cloud security experience, but and if I apply for a role which requires more of pen testing and other things, then they will see my other works, not only the cybersecurity, right? So extensive work experience which you have, and a knowledge of basic concepts, as I told, and a strong non-analytic, non-technical and soft skills. Why this is also in demand? Because like more, if you are a pen testing is nothing but you like typically you are become you are a hacker, but in terms of in doing good, you're basically trying to hack into a system to get to know the things and report it to the system so that they can patch it, report it to the organization so that they can patch it, right? So once you do a pen testing on that, you have to give a detailed report to the CISOs or to the higher level officials. So explaining the technical jargons or the technical terms to a non-technical CISOs or something, like they would be technical, but not too much. So explaining that to them and having that soft skills also is very important for cybersecurity professionals, right? That also they do consider. You have to give various presentation topics, webinars on such things. So they do consider the non-technical skills or soft skills also. And coming to the salary structure, so in US 430K, that's the upper end of the spectrum for a chief information security officer. I'm talking about the United States in particular. So 430K is around the upper end of the salary, and which like the average being around 250 is the 250K is the average, and 430 is the upper end of the spectrum. So of course you need to have a master degree for that, and that's one of the prerequisites. So that's the salary range you can get. And believe me, 150 itself is huge. 150K is itself is huge. So for someone working in India and then traveling there. So 430K for a chief. Of course, you need to have that relevant experience also. Chief information security officer is like the highest level which you can get to. And you require at least, like in my experience, I would have seen like people getting there in 10, 12 years of experience. So that's the salary range you can expect once you are into the industry and gain some knowledge on that. I think Kaushik, if I hope I'm
Yeah.
not too late.
No, absolutely not. I'm just going to take over your screen for like a couple of seconds.
Sure.
So yeah, guys, I think as when I was kind of walking through, I hope you can see my screen. Vinay was walking through, as in cybersecurity is pretty much in demand these days. And one of the highlights is that because data is increasing, and if data is out for threat, then for sure cybersecurity is required. That's how we've designed a program here. So so AntWak has come up with this program, which is called the Experience. It's a 16-week course wherein it's 12 weeks of core topics and then 4 weeks of soft skills. And we also prepare you for the CV and the mentoring sessions. We are very flexible in terms of the classes because we just run over the weekend. That's one class on a Saturday and the other two on a Sunday. Mostly the second one, which runs on a Sunday, is a professional skill class or a master class, something like this. The highlight is we don't have academicians. We have professional experts who've been in the industry for almost like a decade, in terms of been there, done that, and they bring their domain expertise in here. All the classes are given pre-reads. So before the classes, you're aware of what's going to happen in the class. Every domain, which I'll be covering in the next slide, has a wide range of tools that will be covered. And every domain will also be followed with a project, which will be highlighted to your recruiters. So the topics that we're going to cover throughout the span of 12 weeks, this is the first half, which would be your introduction to cybersecurity, network security, cyber attacks, web application security, and incident management. So in introduction security, we'll start as basic as your Kali OS, your virtual box, because I think if you get your basics right, you can kind of start building on your own knowledge base. So we start from Kali OS, we teach you Wireshark, Nmap. In cyber attacks, a new thing has been added. So apart from academic critique, you end up doing reverse engineering malware. And in today's day, malware analysis is kind of one of the tasks which is kind of preferred with professionals who are there in the industry. In addition to that, we also have web application security and incident management. And one of the core topics of the modules is that we do is the SIEM. So we teach you the QRadar SIEM in addition to cloud security, but we don't deep dive into cloud security. We teach you about AWS and Google platforms and the different security architecture associated with it. We also cover a couple of aspects of digital forensics and the governance, risk and compliance and identity and access. Now, the highlight is that whatever you see here about these 10 topics over the span of the next 12 weeks, you get a 360-degree purview, because there was a point of time wherein if you could know one specialty and get into the industry, it was easy to survive. Today, you need to be multi-resilient. You need to have different facets for yourself to put up in this competitive world, because there is definitely a shortage of cybersecurity professionals, but at the same time, there are a lot of people who already are there. So 360-degree purview about knowledge about these things is going to make your job profile much more stronger. And this is the highlight of our payment. It's a limited time offer. So if you prepay 59,999, which is going to be the course for over 16 weeks, it'll be a fixed fee. But then if you don't get placed through one of our companies or your partners, we'll try to kind of refund your money, but then there are certain terms and conditions which you can visit on the link that I've shared on the chat. In addition, if there are people who are not able to afford, you can pay 29,999, and then after placement, we'll be getting the money, 15% of your CTC once you get placed with one of our partners. So I strongly recommend, this is a limited time offer, and I quickly request you to check the link that I've shared on the chat. And the registration is absolutely free. You'll have one of our academic counselors who will speak to you and give you more options around what the payment is, what all courses are going to cover. And the brochure is also available online. I'd strongly recommend people to have a quick check and see, and because definitely this course is kind of catching a lot of heat. And we do have quite a few partners. If you go onto our website, you'll see we have more than 10 cybersecurity companies that we have tie-ups with. So I urge you guys to see that. And yep, that's it from my end. I think, Vinay, you can take over. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Kaushik. Yeah. Let me share my screen again. Hope you guys are able to see the slide deck.
Yep.
Yeah. So the last but not the least for the today's session. So we're going to talk about the most common certifications. One second. Yeah, the most common certifications we have in place, right? So we'll not talk about all the things. Like we have n number of cybersecurity certifications. Like what happened, what is the current trend is like most of the cybersecurity professionals at least have a bachelor degree. So that's how India and IT industries are working. So they should have at least a bachelor's degree. And like many companies, what is happening, they prefer the candidates with who's having the certifications to validate their knowledge and the best practices they have, like they follow or whatever. So it's not a dedicated thing that one has to have a certification, but having a certification improves your chances of getting into a company. Not getting, I would say it's like shortlisting your profile. Say for example, there's two profiles, one having the same skill of the scheme level, one having a certification, other not having a certification on resume, right? HRs tend to have the guy who is having the certification pushed through the next stages of the cycle. I'm not sure of the knowledge. Maybe the other guy without the certification has more knowledge on that. I'll not comment on that, but chances of you being pushed to the next level just for the certification is more, right? So, and with literally these kind of things, like there are hundreds of certifications available, being starting from general to vendor specific. Like general, when I talk about the security general in general, and vendor specific is like in terms of cloud, it is AWS certifications, Google certification, Azure certification, right? So starting from general to vendor specific, and from starting from entry level to advanced, so we have all sorts of certifications, hundreds of certifications. So before you spend your money and time on certifications, and believe me, it's not an 1 or 2 weeks study and you can get a certifications. Most of the certifications are tough here, even though if it's MCQ related, it's hard to crack those. Of course, someone with a security background, or if someone who has experience into security, can do it within a few weeks. But if you're a beginner, I saw some of the comments in the chat, and most of them are like entry level, how to get in. So this is one such way. If you want to get your resume shortlisted, one such way is to have a certification on your resume. So there are literally hundreds of them. Just to name a few, we have CISSP, CISA, CISM, Security Plus, CH, GSEC, SSAP, CASP, GICH, GCIH, and like OSCP, right? These are some of the majors one. Just jumping onto the major four, right? According to the statistics, again, the survey conducted, like CISSP tops the list of certificates with around 62% of organizations preferring a candidates having CISSP. So it stands for Certified Information Security Systems Security Professional. So it's nothing but like it assesses you on all the overall things on security, starting from your application development, all the things which we talked about, right? So it assesses you on everything, every information here. So it explores you on the development security, how SDLC process. It assesses you on the cloud security part of it. It assesses you on the compliance, governance, all the things it assesses you on this. So that's the major certification we have. That's the most preferred one, because you have an understanding of the entire cybersecurity domain there. The next one is CompTIA Plus. It's the security foundation, basically related to only to security, most of the things. And the third one being the SIMP. So this is Certified Information Security Manager. In the difference between CISSP and SIM is like, to some extent both are same. I mean, not the entire content, but in CISM it's more of non-technical. So how it's more for the managers or to bring up their career, right? So say for example, this is more on like, how do you handle an incident, security incident in an organization? What are the protocols to take care of? What are the change? How do you do a change request for any security related things? All those stuff. So manager related, not diving too on the technical front of it. And the last but not the least, which has the popularity till date, is CH. It's a certified ethical hacker. So some of the comments which are shown in the that section, right? So from an entry level, I would say start, if you want to go with the certification first and have a job, get into some kind of job and then learn from there, I would say CH is the best one. And then get to know the different types of security domains we have, and then thereby you can decide which is the career path you want to choose, be it cloud security, application development, governance, forensic, right? Any of those. Once you get a CH certification, get into a organization, you get to explore a lot of things. What are the domains, how the security industry works, how the MNC works, how the IT industry works, all those things, right? CH, again, it's basically MCQ related. It's more on various cybersecurity practices that we have to follow. What are the protocols, how one can hack? I mean, not in particularly, they'll not ask how to hack a system or something. What are the tools that are used? What are the benefits of using a particular tool, or like how the tool can be handled, right? Those kind of stuff. It's basically MCQ. So these are the top four certifications as of now. The organizations are preferring the candidates having these certifications are move into the next stages of uh, the hiring cycle, right? And that's pretty much it. Thank you for your time. And I seriously did not expect this many number of participants. Thank you for your time. I hope you had a good, you got a good knowledge from this session. And please feel free to contact me via LinkedIn or anything if you have any doubts. And I'll definitely help you out with any uh, information you needed.
Vinay, thank you so much. That was actually a wonderful session. We just have pick up a couple of questions we have about the session. So we have a question: which cloud platform would you recommend, Azure, GCP, or AWS?
Okay, this is one of the major questions I get also. So the market, if you see the market trend, AWS is the upfront. So I would say AWS. AWS has a market share of around 60 to 70% as of now, and that's the if you go into AWS, your chances of getting into a job is more rather than Azure GCP.
All right. Does DevSecOps apply when application is deployed in cloud?
Yes, DevSecOps, as I told, right, it can be integrated starting from your requirement phase till the deployment phase. Again, DevSecOps, within the deployment phase, we can have DevSecOps. Like say, for example, you push the build, you have the testing environment, you test it. Once the test cases, all the test cases pass, you deploy the artifact and then run a test bed on it again. And so all those things. So DevSecOps can be included.
Right. Which IDS is best in the market today?
I mean, it's there are like various IDSs and IPSs, but I typically have used Snort to some extent, and that's what I prefer. So it basically depends on the what are the capabilities that you need. So Snort may have some capabilities, not SNORT. Snort may have some capabilities, and other IDS or IPS may have some different capabilities. So it depends on the requirement that you have.
Brilliant. How much possibilities of ransomware attacks is present on the cloud platform?
It's again the same thing on-premise or cloud. I say cloud is nothing but someone else's system, right? So the proverb, there's a proverb or a joke say that like cloud is nothing but someone else's system. So typically AWS, the servers are sitting somewhere where you don't know. On-premise is where you know, and cloud is somewhere where you don't know where the servers are sitting. So pretty much on-prem if it's possible, and any security configuration within the cloud also, the ransomware is possible, definitely.
Thank you. So can you suggest a master's degree for better knowledge in cybersecurity?
Master's degree in what terms?
I think just to gain the knowledge purposes, is there any sort of master's degree that you'd personally recommend?
I don't have anything in particular, but I think whatever Kaushik mentioned, the AntWak program, it's a great opportunity for you guys to get into. And I think I typically don't know any master's degree program. I mean, you can check out the various free courses also in Udemy. Coursera is one such platform which I use extensively. COURSERA, Coursera, and AntWak program also is great. So you can check out the free courses. Once you get the basic knowledge, you can sign up for the AntWak program, which deep dive onto the various topics, right? And then you can get an exposure like that. That's a really good module program which AntWak has.
Right. And also, can you suggest a roadmap for cybersecurity as a fresher?
Roadmap. Yeah. So if you are a fresher just out of the college, right? As I told, right, start with some basic courses on Coursera or Udemy. Even the paid ones in Udemy cost you around 450 or 499, 470 rupees, Indian rupees. So have that, learn about those things, start attending the webinars like this, free webinars, and like enroll into a good program and start with one of the certifications. Take your time, don't hurry. Once you get into an IT industry, then it takes you along there. So start with Coursera, basic courses, certifications, get into an IT.
Thank you. Vinay, we'll just pick up the last question. What's the salary for a cloud security professional?
Again, in India, it might range anywhere between like, I'm just saying, I take an example, I might be wrong also with my experience, somewhere it would range around 80. So what level are you expecting? Are you expecting for a fresher or are you expecting for a CISO? So that depends. Again, it would be somewhere around 30 to 40 lakhs for a mid-level engineer and somewhere around 20 lakhs for a, 15 to 20 lakhs for somewhere around 3 years of experience guy. 7 to 8 years of experience guy would be somewhere earning around 30, 35. And high level goes again there. Like it might reach up to 60 or 70 lakhs per annum.
Brilliant, brilliant. I think that's about at the end of the time. So thank you so much, guys, for being a part of today's session. Thank you so much, Vinay. That was a good amount of knowledge that was shared, and I hope you guys have very benefited with it. The recording will be available on our portal in a couple of days. So people who've joined in between, feel free to check out the recording. And as Vinay has upfrontly kind of catered himself, that you can connect with him on LinkedIn. So just try to connect with him so that he'd be able to guide you much further. Probably the last question that we can pick up is, does programming is needed? I think it's a mix of an yes or a no answer. Vinay?
Yes, again, it depends on the career path you choose. For example, one say that, I mean, I also believe, one says that you cannot separate IT and programming. So even if you want to become a cybersecurity professionals and you want, for pen tester, scripting is very much required, because you need, once you get to know certain things, not everything works by the tool, right? Some have a myth saying that, so I just need to know the tool in cybersecurity and everything, tool takes care of everything. So once you understand the tool, everything is done. No, it's just a myth, or myth, or however you want to pronounce it. So not only like some of the tools doesn't respond that well, right? So it again depends on that. In that case, a simple script to open that port or something will help. So it's a mix of an yes and no. Again, depends on the career path you choose. For cloud security in particular, you don't need that much of a programming knowledge, but again, application development security you need. That's a must and should.
Right. Thank you so much, Vinay. I think there's one of the participants, Pratik, who said, thank you, Vinay. That was a wonderful session.
Thank you, Pratik.
Nishit, LinkedIn ID, I think if you search Vinay Kumar, I think it should come up on LinkedIn. So yeah, that should be fine. And once again, guys, thank you so much for this session. Vinay, thank you. It was a pleasure having you on board, and I hope to have more of your presence in the future events as well.
Sure. Thanks, Kaushik. Yeah, same here.
And yes, guys, thank you so much once again. Stay safe. Take care. Good night.